The word around the league, whispered in hallways and exploded across comment sections, is that something absolutely wild is brewing in Baltimore. And it feels like one of those moments where the internet stops for a second and everyone leans closer to the screen. The Ravens, a franchise known for calculated moves and quiet dominance, are suddenly being linked to TYREEK Hill in a way that feels almost unreal, like a storyline ripped straight out of a video game fantasy mode. This is not being framed as an official announcement, not as a confirmed signing, but as that kind of rumor that gains heat because it makes too much sense, and also feels completely absurd at the same time. Fans are imagining defenses panicking before the snap, safeties backing up instinctively, and coordinators losing sleep. The idea floating around is that Baltimore is tired of being predictable, tired of being respected but not feared in space, and ready to unleash something that breaks the normal rhythm of the league. When you hear TYREEK Hill connected to a quarterback who already bends time with his legs and his arm, you can almost hear the collective gasp. This speculation is feeding on the belief that speed changes everything, that it forces mistakes before the ball is even thrown. It is the kind of chatter that turns a normal news cycle into chaos. And the Ravens are suddenly at the center of a storm they may or may not have intentionally created. What makes this rumor feel even louder is the way it fits into a larger narrative about evolution and urgency. Baltimore has always been a team that adapts, sometimes ahead of the curve, sometimes by bulldozing the curve entirely. Adding a player like TYREEK Hill, at least in theory, would not just be about catching passes or stretching the field, but about redefining how opponents prepare for an entire game. People close to the situation, or at least claiming to be close, are suggesting that the Ravens want to weaponize motion, misdirection, and pure acceleration in a way the league has not consistently seen from them before. The speculation paints pictures of jet sweeps, deep shots that force corners to turn and run instantly, and underneath routes that suddenly become nightmares because of what can happen after the catch. This is where the YouTube chatter really takes off, because speed is visual, speed is viral, and speed sells. The rumor machine thrives on clips, and TYREEK Hill is basically a walking highlight reel. Pairing that with Baltimore's already creative offense feels like pouring fuel on a fire. Even skeptics admit that if this move were real, it would send a message that the Ravens are done playing chess while everyone else plays checkers, and instead they are flipping the board entirely. Another layer that keeps this speculation alive is the emotional reaction from fans and analysts who have watched Baltimore come close, but not always break through in the biggest moments. There is this sense that the front office might be flirting with a bold gamble, something that shifts the identity from disciplined power to terrifying unpredictability. TYREEK Hill represents chaos for a defense, not because he runs routes in a textbook way, but because he breaks rules of spacing and timing that defenders rely on to survive. The rumor suggests that Baltimore wants that chaos on its side, wants opponents to feel rushed and uncomfortable. You can almost hear a YouTuber leaning into the microphone, lowering their voice, saying that this is not about replacing anyone, but about amplifying everything that already works. The Ravens have speed, but this would be speed turned up to an almost unfair level. The talk is that defensive coordinators would be forced to choose between stacking the box or protecting the deep field, and either choice could be punished instantly. This kind of speculation thrives because it taps into fear, hope, and imagination all at once, creating a perfect storm of engagement. From a strategic point of view, the rumor keeps circling back to the idea of the fastest attack the league has ever seen, not measured in numbers, but in the way plays unfold before your eyes. People are not just talking about straight-line speed, but about how quickly decisions would have to be made by a defense facing Baltimore. TYREEK Hill does not need much separation, and the Ravens quarterback does not need much time. That combination, at least in theory, turns every snap into a potential disaster for the opponent. The speculation hints at practices where defenders are left shaking their heads, at film sessions where coaches rewind the same play over and over trying to understand how it broke down so quickly. Even if this is all rumor, it speaks to a hunger in Baltimore to be talked about differently, to be feared for something other than toughness. Speed is glamour, speed is fear, and speed changes how games feel emotionally. That is why this rumor refuses to die, because it promises something spectacular and terrifying at the same time, and fans cannot look away. There is also a business and cultural angle swirling around this story, because adding a star like TYREEK Hill is not just a football decision, it is a statement. The chatter suggests that Baltimore wants to dominate conversations, thumbnails, and debates, not just score points, in the age of constant content where every play is clipped and shared. Having a player who breaks angles and outruns expectations is priceless. This speculation paints the Ravens as a team that understands the modern league, where attention is currency, and excitement builds brand power. TYREEK Hill brings eyes, clicks, and endless discussion. And pairing that with an already electric offense feels like a calculated move to own the spotlight. Even critics who question the fit cannot deny the intrigue. The rumor frames Baltimore as bold, almost reckless, but in a way that feels intentional. This is not a quiet rebuild or a conservative tweak, but a potential seismic shift, whether true or not. The idea alone has already changed how people talk about the Ravens. And that alone makes the speculation feel powerful. As the first wave of this rumor continues to ripple, the mood around the Ravens feels charged with possibility and disbelief. Some fans are celebrating early, imagining celebrations that start the moment the ball is snapped, while others remain cautious, reminding everyone that rumors are not reality. Yet even the cautious voices sound a little excited, because this is the kind of story that makes following the league fun. The idea of Baltimore unleashing an offense built on pure acceleration, unpredictability, and fear taps into a deeper desire for spectacle. It is the kind of speculation that turns casual viewers into obsessed fans, refreshing feeds and replaying old highlights. Whether this move exists only in whispers or is slowly becoming real behind closed doors, it has already achieved something remarkable. It has made the Ravens feel dangerous in a new way, and it has made the rest of the league feel a little uneasy, wondering what could happen if this rumor turns into reality. Moving into the second part of this unfolding speculation, the conversation shifts from shock to imagination. Because once the idea is planted, it grows roots fast. People start visualizing formations, matchups, and moments that could redefine how defenses approach Baltimore. The rumor mill suggests that coaches are already being forced to think hypothetically, asking themselves how they would survive against an offense where TYREEK Hill is just one of several threats that can erase angles instantly. This is where the idea of the fastest attack becomes less of a slogan and more of a philosophy. Speed forces honesty from defenses, exposing weaknesses that might otherwise stay hidden. The speculation frames Baltimore as a team that wants to dictate terms from the opening snap, not react or adjust, but overwhelm. You can almost hear a YouTuber pacing back and forth, voice rising, explaining how motion alone could freeze linebackers, how deep routes could clear space underneath, and how everything would feel rushed. This is not about one player saving a team, but about one player unlocking a new level of aggression and creativity. The rumor lives because it feels logical in a twisted way, even if it sounds insane at first. Another angle fueling this speculation is the psychological effect such a move would have across the league. Defenders talk, coaches talk, and fear spreads faster than any scouting report. The idea of preparing for Baltimore and knowing that TYREEK Hill could turn any harmless-looking play into a disaster is exhausting. The rumor suggests that this mental fatigue would be part of the Ravens' plan, forcing opponents to play scared, to hesitate, to second-guess. Speed does that. It steals confidence. The chatter online leans into this, arguing that Baltimore wants to win games before they even start by living rent-free in defensive coordinators' minds. This kind of narrative is perfect for YouTube because it blends strategy with emotion, turning film breakdowns into dramatic storytelling, even if the move never happens. The idea alone reshapes how people talk about the Ravens' ceiling. They are no longer just solid or dangerous, but potentially terrifying in space. There is also speculation about how this would impact the locker room and the identity of the offense as a whole. The rumor paints a picture of a group energized by the possibility of something historic, of players feeding off the confidence that comes with having a game breaker on the field. TYREEK Hill's presence, even as a hypothetical, symbolizes belief in speed and boldness. The chatter suggests that younger players would learn to play faster, to trust timing, and to embrace risk. This is not about abandoning discipline, but about sharpening it to match a new tempo. YouTubers love to talk about culture, and this rumor gives them plenty to chew on. A faster offense changes practice, preparation, and mindset. Everything feels urgent. The speculation frames Baltimore as a team ready to evolve emotionally, not just tactically, embracing a style that demands confidence and precision at every moment. Financial and logistical questions swirl around this rumor as well, But they rarely slow it down. Instead, they add drama. People argue about fit, about balance, about whether such a move would be too aggressive, yet those debates only keep the story alive. The speculation suggests that Baltimore sees value beyond spreadsheets, value in pressure and unpredictability. TYREEK Hill, in this narrative, is not just a receiver, but a stress test for the entire league. Defenses would be forced to reveal what they fear most, and Baltimore would exploit it. This is why the idea of the fastest attack resonates so deeply. It is not measured in seconds, but in panic. The rumor survives because it promises to expose limits, to push opponents beyond comfort, and to turn preparation into guesswork. As the chatter grows louder, comparisons and fantasies begin to blur together. People talk about historic offenses, about moments when speed changed everything, and they place this hypothetical Ravens unit right into that conversation. The speculation becomes almost cinematic, with fans imagining stadiums buzzing and defenders scrambling. This is where rumor becomes entertainment, a shared story that people build together. YouTube thrives on this energy because it invites everyone to participate, to argue, to dream. Whether skeptical or convinced, everyone has an opinion. And every opinion feeds the algorithm. The Ravens, intentionally or not, are at the center of this storm, and TYREEK Hill is the lightning rod that keeps it crackling. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. In the end, this rumor is less about certainty and more about possibility. And that is what makes it so powerful. The idea of Baltimore pairing its already dangerous offense with one of the most feared speed threats in football taps into a universal craving for spectacle and dominance. Even if nothing materializes, the speculation has already reshaped expectations and conversations. It has painted the Ravens as bold, aggressive, and willing to chase something extraordinary. For a YouTuber, this is gold, because it blends fear, excitement, and imagination into one irresistible narrative. The fastest attack in the league might still live only in whispers, but those whispers are loud enough to echo across the entire football world. As this rumor refuses to cool down, another layer of speculation begins to surface, focusing on how defenses would be forced to fundamentally rewrite their priorities when facing Baltimore. The idea being whispered is that traditional game plans would become almost useless, because speed like this does not respect schemes. It challenges instincts. If TYREEK Hill were truly added to this offense, the chatter suggests that defensive backs would have to abandon their usual patience and play on pure reaction, which often leads to mistakes. Linebackers would hesitate. Safeties would drift backward too early, and that hesitation alone could open massive windows. This is the kind of hypothetical that excites content creators because it turns football into a psychological thriller. The Ravens, in this rumor-driven universe, are no longer just executing plays, they are forcing reactions. Every snap becomes a question mark, every motion a potential trap. Fans imagine defenders pointing, shouting, adjusting, only to be wrong anyway. Speed compresses time, and the speculation insists that Baltimore wants to live in that compressed chaos. Even skeptics admit that preparing for such an offense would feel like studying for an exam, where the questions keep changing. That uncertainty is intoxicating for fans and terrifying for opponents. And it is exactly why this rumor continues to dominate conversations. Another fascinating thread in this speculation revolves around legacy and ambition. Because moves like this are never just about the present moment. The chatter implies that Baltimore wants to be remembered as a team that pushed boundaries, that refused to stay comfortable. TYREEK Hill, in this narrative, represents a challenge to the league's status quo. A declaration that speed and aggression will define the next phase of Ravens football. YouTubers lean into this angle, talking about how moments like these shape eras and redefine expectations. The rumor paints the Ravens as hunters, not defenders of tradition, willing to take risks that others fear. This is not about copying anyone else's formula, but about creating a new one. Fans debate whether this would be genius or madness, but even that debate fuels belief. The idea of the fastest attack is not just about outrunning opponents, but about outrunning doubt. It suggests confidence at the highest level, a belief that execution can match ambition, whether real or imagined. This speculation gives Baltimore an aura of inevitability, as if something big is coming no matter what. And everyone is just waiting for the moment when whispers turn into shock. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.